Okay, as you can see, we are in the sauna, but, well, part 2 is going to go ahead and be protocols, practices, and principles, so don't miss that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of Ami Garcia's journey. And Ami's here from California, Los Angeles, and she's here like a lot of people come up and see us because they have a few things they want to clean up. They want to see if they can change it up in a positive way. But they're not just doing this sometimes. A lot of people sometimes come here, to our 21 day, and this is what I say to people, it's just a minimum 21 days. I like to have people stay 3 months. But 21 days where you're going to specialize yourself in not only rest, because you need it, detoxification, and then rejuvenation. And it's not that you have to go ahead and do so much exercise or anything. Your body rejuvenates by itself when you stimulate it the right way. Okay, so Ami has been, as everybody, just so you know, okay? This isn't like some common little sickness that people have. No, everybody's sick to their own level, okay? And everybody has a variety, just so you know, of different parasites. And we're going to talk just a little bit about not just organic parasites, but possibly inorganic ones. And what does that mean? So, Ami, tell us a little bit about your journey of what you started. Why did you even remember? Because you changed it up a lot.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Even before coming.
That's what I'm talking about. What have you? First of all, tell them. People don't change it up unless you have a reason. You're either logical or reasonable, or something's bothering you, and you say, "I got to change it up."
Yeah. It's been a really long journey of figuring out what I had because my body just started crashing and depleting when I was pregnant. Second trimester, I was already kidneys, liver, gallbladder malfunctioning, and I would tell my doctor my symptoms, and he would say that if I truly had those symptoms, I would have to be hospitalized and IV'd the rest of the term. So I quickly learned to shut up and not say anything after that.
Exactly.
Because my partner would have to carry me to the restroom and that kind of thing. I was just not functioning, even though I was eating really clean.
Okay, but what happened? Did you get in an accident? Because all of a sudden you didn't feel good?
Yeah.
Did it just come on?
It went back before that. When I was 13, I had typhoid.
Okay.
For a week and a half, I was in Mexico, and typhoid is an illness contracted from mosquitoes, kind of like malaria, dengue, and
sort of like even Lyme's disease. They're all blood-sucking creatures that transfer a lot of weird stuff to us.
Yeah, so what turned out is that I was 13, I got typhoid and Lyme's through the mosquitoes. But I didn't know I had Lyme's, and I was getting shots or injections for every 4 hours, round the clock, for 10 days, until they were able to stabilize me and fly me out. Just puking and diarrhea, that's all I remember, and being on IV. And so the accumulation of all the heavy metals from the injections, by the time I was 17, I already had arthritis, severe allergies, back pain, a lot of emotional stuff, depression, suicidal, and my parents just thought it was hormones. I was just a hormonal teenager.
You're just growing out. You'll grow out of it.
Yeah, and as things got worse, and as I got older, because I was clueless, I didn't know what was going on, my hip started popping out. I had an injury and I fell when I was skating, and my hip would pop out. I had sciatica. I had 3 bulging discs.
It sounds like you're falling apart at a young age. Before 20?
Yeah, by the time I was 24, I had 3 tumors in my breasts. Just all kinds of issues,
So you've been battling health for a little while, searching. Yeah. So have you been looking into not only why or how to cure, or, did you go to the doctor mostly, or did you try to put it maybe in your own hands, or you had to go through everybody else first until you figured out that no one's going to help me?
Yeah, it was going through a lot of medical doctors, and they were clueless, and they couldn't understand. I had chest pains, and I couldn't breathe, and all the tests came up fine, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and I kept getting worse, and I went to see naturopath when I had the breast tumors, and she changed my diet, and it took about a year and a half for the tumor to go away. but they all went away.
Just through diet.
Just through diet, just cleaning up my diet, getting rid of animal
Just
meat.
remember, you just heard that, guys, okay? And if you don't have a good diet, remember, you're just doing this to yourself.
Yeah, getting rid of animal meat, getting rid of dairy. And then after a couple years, I stupidly thought, well, I'm better now. I can go back. And within a month of eating animal meat and dairy, I had the tumors up again. It was on this side, and it was 3 centimeters. It was pretty big. And
3 centimeters, just so you know, guys, is like an inch, 2.54 centimeters to an inch, so that's a big tumor.
yeah,
And remember, tumor, it's a ball of parasites. You think it is, right?
Yeah.
It's a ball of some type of creature that's not you.
the other ones were like fluid and pus, but that was solid. It was pretty solid. And then the backache started getting worse for about 3 years. I couldn't even touch my knees. And
Okay.
before I could touch the floor flat palm. And I was seeing back specialists and everything.
So you're taking pharmaceuticals, I'm sure. Did you take antibiotics?
Yes. I was on 5 medications, no antibiotics at that point, but they wanted to give me epidurals
But you did have antibiotics before, right?
after.
When you were younger, when you had
for the
typhoid.
for the
That's what I'm saying. This is the
typhoid,
beginning of ruining your immune system, guys.
Yeah.
Remember, antibiotic means anti-life, so be careful
and
with those.
it was normal for me to go to the restroom once, maybe every 2-3 days.
Oh,
Where now I can go 3 times just in the morning, which is huge for me. So
and that's
Right.
average person, just about. They don't go to the bathroom. They got 9
Yeah.
meals packed up inside them, and you wonder why you're
Yeah.
sick and tired.
And it started getting worse after that. 3 years of back pain, and when the doctor wanted to give me epidurals, that was my limit. I was like, no, I'm not doing epidurals.
Yeah, just to take
every
away
month.
the pain.
No,
Not to
and-
help anything. Just take away
and
the pain.
I was having to fight to go to chiropractors and physical therapists and that kind of thing. So I switched my whole insurance because they weren't covering
They
anything.
weren't covering anything but pharmaceutical, medical.
Yeah, and I started chelating, and I started really going really clean. I'm talking about raw vegan and detoxing and doing a lot of emotional work and mental work and really pushing the limits.
Were you working still?
Yes, I was an engineer. Yeah.
Okay.
And at that point, I was already working for Northrop, but I was at JPL before for almost 10 years for NASA.
Okay. Do you feel like you had a lot of stress too? Because all this stuff binds up, guys.
Yeah. I was working on the 3 rovers. I worked on all 3 rovers from beginning to end.
Wow.
And I worked on missiles and the highest military projects. I was just on high stress all the time. Yeah.
And not only that, when you start to get more conscious, you sort of start to say, am I doing something that's right,
Right.
for what I feel that my virtues are? Making bombs? I
Yeah.
don't know about
I didn't want
that.
to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And then I started.
Well, you
taking-
changed your diet, and all of a sudden you start
Yeah.
seeing and thinking different. It's the way it
I-
works.
was taking a series of nutritional courses over a period of a year, and they covered the physical, mental, emotional, and energetic blocks that create physical illnesses or disease, right? And I started clearing a lot of stuff, a lot of past traumas,
Which we all have. Even birth was a trauma.
all
remember?
kinds of abuse, yeah. And I started chelating, and
Tell them what chelating is, just because a lot of people don't understand that.
there's a lot of different chelators that some are natural and some are synthetic. They will pull heavy metals out. So I knew I had a lot of heavy metals from when I had typhoid and probably from vaccinations when I was
Just
a kid.
living in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And breathing in stuff.
Oh yeah, lead and
So-
lipstick. If you use makeup, if you use any type of lotions, perfumes,
Yeah.
they're not just heavy metals either.
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So I took zeolite, and you should not chelate though if you have fillings in your mouth. I did at that time, and thankfully I had so much metals in me that it just took out the rest. But later, that was really detrimental to me. So I took zeolite at the time.
And let's just for a sec. How many fillings, mercury fillings, did you have? How many
I
fillings?
only had 3. I know of people that have 15.
I have 14.
Yeah.
But you had 3 still.
And I
That's
only
another assault.
No,
Remember?
not anymore.
No. But
yes.
that's the beginning of getting sick and all
Took
these
them out
things
last
crumbling down. It's like,
Yeah.
why?
Oh yeah,
Why?
I'll get to that, but I got seriously sick and I almost died from that. So this was 2012. I chelated, got off of 5 medications. And I had so much metals coming out.
Okay, but the medications you're on, what were they for? I mean, you're on all different. You take this medication.
Anxiety, muscle spasms, allergies, the chronic back pain, ibuprofen, like strong stuff.
Yeah. And then usually you get this pharmaceutical,
Ativan.
and then you got to take another one to combat whatever this one gave you problems,
Yeah.
constipation, whatever it would
And one of them that I was taking for the back pain sent me to the ER because I was having a stroke. So yeah, really, really strong stuff.
be. Yeah, opiates.
And the heavy metals started coming out of my pores, and I smelled like a machine shop.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
Metal.
And I got my
Me too.
period in that time, and it was just coming out like so strong. But I was really grateful that it came out everywhere it needed to. So then I started going raw vegan, and
You're just trying to clean up your diet.
Just
You're
clean
just
up
trying to
my
stay
whole
away
body.
from dense food, and you're actually
Yeah.
just changing your layer of
Yeah.
food to more liquidy, less dense.
doing colon cleanses.
Colon cleanses.
I was about to start a liver cleanse, and then I got pregnant.
So when somebody said you had Lyme's, how did they figure out you had Lyme's disease though?
That was not till
Because mostly, everybody, guys, just so you know, most people have some type of blood-borne disease that you got from a mosquito, that you got from a tick, that you got from some bug,
bed bugs.
bed bugs that sucked
yeah.
your blood, okay, and it's injected just like a vaccine. It's injected a lot of weird stuff,
Yeah.
okay, so this is why, no matter what, if you did have sickness or you don't have sickness, this is a necessary thing to do, is to clean your filters and really, really look deep into what you're doing. And by learning from other people that once they get sick, they got to do this because they have to. But you guys should be smart enough right now, tell you, to change it up before you get too sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
With your child.
I didn't find out I had Lyme's until about 3 weeks before I came here. That was a month and a half ago.
Wow. And how did they figure that with a blood test?
No, muscle testing.
Muscle
My doctor
testing.
refused to do the Lyme's test because it's $800. And so we were attacking parasites and heavy metals at the time. So the symptoms are really similar from heavy metals to Lyme's. And she said, well, let's just weed out things. So I would go to another naturopath that does kinesiology. So he'll muscle test the body. And basically the body is like an electrical circuit, so it'll tell you if it's an open or closed circuit. And if it's closed, you have if it's closed with your fingers, you have a positive. So it's a yes response. So he muscle tested, and I had breast cancer, Lyme's, Morgellons, heavy metals, radiation, pharmaceuticals, fluoride poisoning.
Everybody's got the same things that you're saying, just so
All
you know.
kinds of stuff, yeah.
No, we're all infected with this stuff,
And-
guys.
Yeah, it was parasites in the brain. Parasites eating away at my brain, and I could feel it, and I was losing functioning in my body.
You bet. Everybody's got them, guys. And if you don't think so, remember her story. Okay, she's just courageous enough to go ahead and tell you. And you do have to dig deep when you get sick. Okay, and your insurance company, let me tell you, they're only going to give you the ways that their system goes ahead and does. Okay, it doesn't cure disease. It only manages it, just so you understand. Remember, your health care insurance is not health care because it doesn't do anything really to promote your health, but it's sick care insurance. And if you get sick, I'm just telling you, because I've been in this business for 40 years, okay, and all I see is that the smartest thing anybody can do is you need to learn from people that have gotten sickness and what does fix and help them. If you're not sick, let me tell you, all you're doing is making your body pretty much armor shield, because you can't believe how much heavy metals, like she was talking about, is in your system. Can't believe. Remember,
Yeah.
body fat is a creature. Okay, it is.
My skin would turn black. My legs would be black, and I would ooze black ink. It looked like black ink out of my skin, and the whole time I thought it was heavy metals, because what happened is
And it has a smell to it.
yeah, definitely metallic.
Metallic-y.
My pores would smell metallic.
Yeah. Mine too when I first started. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also have black mold. That's also turned out the black stuff was also the black mold. But
Yeast, mold, fungus, candida. Remember, that's a big disease in everybody. Okay, it is.
so I got pregnant after cleaning up my body for about 6 months, and I had to stop detoxing, because when you're pregnant, you can't detox. When you're nursing, everything will go to the baby. So I knew I had intestinal parasites just because if you've been eating meat and dairy and cooked foods and processed foods, and you know, I was on
And
McDonald's.
and your extended belly, and
Yeah.
you feel stuffed up and clogged.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those
And-
symptoms, intestinal problems, gas, bloating.
So I did get muscle tested, and it turned out I had intestinal parasites, but I couldn't detox them at that time. So then I started having the liver, the kidney issues. I would get really swollen, but because I wasn't gaining a lot of weight during my pregnancy, the doctor just kept assuming, no, you're not swollen. You know, usually people are really, really overweight. So he was like, you're fine. You know, you can model. You look fantastic. I looked nothing like I do now. I see puffiness in my
You should
face.
see her pictures, just the one she showed me just from a few weeks, 3 weeks ago? A month ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
We'll put those on here just to show you. Remember,
I'll show you. I'll send you a
she's-
before one too.
yeah, she's doing things as an experiment, okay, that are reasonable and logical. Let's go, let's sitting in the sauna here. Okay, remember part 2, we're going to open up her skin pores and do a therapy, and you're going to wait until you see what comes out of her pores. I know what's going to come out, and she already knows because a lot of it's coming out.
Yeah.
But when you first came here, remember, you were really sore, couldn't even
Yeah.
touch your muscles.
Yeah, I had fibromyalgia. It was terrible. So after the pregnancy, I had a home birth. It was wonderful, but the postpartum issues that I had after that were really, really hard. The abdomen never closed up. My ab muscles never closed up after the pregnancy, and I could fit my whole hand in between my muscles.
Yeah, a hernia, like a hernia. Lineal hernia, they call it.
It was
Split the muscle in the middle there.
diastasis recti.
Yep.
And I had an umbilical hernia, and the solution for that was surgery. So I was stubborn, and I was like, no, I'm going to do physical therapy. I'm going to do physical training, try to rehabilitate everything. And I prolapsed also. And for about 2 years, I kept trying, and it did close up. My gap went down from my whole hand down to 2 fingers. But I was weaning off my child so I could have the surgery and just a minor surgery instead of a full. They wanted to do a tummy tuck from hip to hip, and I said no way. I had my child at home because I didn't want to go to the hospital and do a C-section, so I didn't want to do. And she said, okay, well, if you get it closed down, we can do a C-section surgery. And I was still not happy with that. So I was still working at it, and I was weaning off my child. We were having a hard night, and I was putting her to sleep. She rolled off the bed, and when I went to grab her, she pulled back, and it split open, and I tore across. And I passed out from the pain because it was just too much.
Like a tear, yeah.
My phone was dead, I couldn't breathe, and my partner didn't find me till another 15, 20 minutes later. He thought
I told you she's got a good movie. Everyone's got a good movie, good story.
Oh, it gets,
Learn
it gets
from
better.
it. You learn from these stories, guys, because you're going to have to figure it out. Remember, your story is unique to you, and you're going to have to navigate it, or someone's going to navigate it for you.
And it's still hard for me to talk about. This was last year, April of last year. I was on bed rest for 1.5 years. If you think having the flu for 3 days is hard and you're losing it because you're sick in bed for 3 days, that's nothing. A month of it.
Body joints, aches, couldn't walk, felt like someone ran you over with the truck, that feeling?
Yeah, and
For a year?
1.5 years. For the while taking care of a newborn, a toddler. And you've met her.
Well, that's why your husband's such a good husband.
Yeah.
He's been trained already at an early age, whether he liked it or not, and he is. He's
Yeah,
such
since I was
such a
pregnant.
good father.
Yeah, we've been together 8 years, so since before, he was there with the back pain and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. He wouldn't have to pick me up to pop my hip back in.
He must really love you because you know
He
what
does.
happens.
And I love
okay?
him,
It's responsibility to
It-
take care of anybody that's sick, okay? And all you want to do is, if you really do love somebody, you want to get your sickness gone. So did you guys sort of both put your heads together too and try to figure out what or did you sort of...
He's the one that got me into the nutrition classes in the first place.
Okay.
When I had my back pain. And he's so amazingly loving and supporting because, I mean, it's really tough. It really drives you apart. There's a lot of times where you just forget. If you think having a newborn is hard, or if you think being sick is hard, like being chronically ill with a newborn and in
And you
a
can't be a mom.
relationship, no.
You can't even take care of yourself. And the
That's
best
all
thing
my
of being a
child has
mother
done.
is taking care of your newborn. What a loving experience. So
Yeah. So, my doctor gave me a really high dose of magnesium to calm down the. By this time, I had already changed to an integrative doctor. She's amazing. So she studied as a traditional doctor and does more homeopathic, more natural medicine. And she gave me a high dose of magnesium, which worked great for the muscle cramping and the fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue. So I was starting to be more functional. I didn't have to bathe with a sponge anymore or a towel. I could actually sit in the shower now in a chair. So that for me was progress. And I had my hair long and I cut it down shorter as the years went by. That dose went really well, so she upped me a little bit more, but the second dose had a chelator. And since I had already chelated before, my body didn't really have a lot of place to pull the metals from except for my fillings. She never asked and I didn't think about it, and it started leaking the fillings in my mouth into my body. In a couple days I had a sore throat and this had swollen up all my limbs.
I did the same thing.
My thyroid, yeah.
I did the same thing when I was 20 years ago.
I went to her, she thought I had a cold. Then I knew something else was wrong. I went to my kinesiologist. By the time I went to him, a week had passed by. The stuff had gone down. This was completely swollen.
All your thyroid, all your glands.
Into my armpits.
Yep.
I didn't have pits anymore. I had balls here. Into all my tissue, and mind you, I was still weaning off my child at the time. So I completely filled up with lumps. And I started oozing black milk. And I freaked out. Yeah, it was really bad. And my child.
Did you get any video or anything of any of this stuff?
No. I thought I went back to her and I pushed for a heavy metals test, and she did a regular thyroid test, nothing came up. And I thought she had done a heavy metals test, and it turned out she never did. I didn't get it.
And again, like I was telling you, unless you really massage the body, push a lot of stuff out, and take some EDTA, which is called ethylene diamine tetracetic acid, or some other chelator, a lot of times your blood will come out clean and says you don't have heavy metals, but it's in your kidney, it's in your brain, it's in your heart, it's in your muscles, okay, it's in your bone.
Yeah.
So it's a very elusive toxicity, and a lot of people say, oh, I don't have parasites either. Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I finally did a heavy metals test through hair and urine and blood right before coming here, and I got my results. I had mercury, lead in high doses, antimony, arsenic, cadmium, really high cadmium from working as an engineer, and uranium. That was off the charts. It was so high. And that was probably from working as an engineer. Not probably. That was definitely from working as an engineer, because I was in failure analysis, and the room next door was the radiation lab. So
uranium, guys, is called ionizing particles, and they're very hot particles. And when you breathe them in or you're around them, sometimes your body, not sometimes, most of the time your body can't break down this fuel, and it burns it. It causes inflammation, and it causes your immune system to go ahead and try to encapsulate this thing and put it into like a cyst or a ball. So a lot of people, they have no idea why they're sick, and a lot of times it's because of heavy metals. Once the heavy metals get in your system, clog it up, and then parasites move in, and anything else comes right behind it because of your heavy metal load and your body's clogged.
Yeah, so remember, I already knew when I was pregnant I had parasites. So now by the time I went to my kinesiologist, it was in my gut. 4 weeks straight I was puking and on the toilet and vomiting and diarrhea, and for a week straight couldn't hold down anything. And he's the one that told me, it's this supplement, it's all connected to your teeth, you need to get it out right away. And he muscle tested everything, and went back to my doctor. By this time I was tremoring. I would pass out in the middle of conversation. I would black out, I would slur, I couldn't form coherent thoughts. It's still hard for me sometimes if there's a lot of redistribution. Terrible migraines. It felt like my eyes were being twisted, and like a rod.
Confused and dazed, as they say. You don't do anything a lot of times because you're confused and dazed. In bed.
So I couldn't read anymore. I couldn't read past the page. And I was an engineer. I had a master's in material science, so it was really hard for me.
So did it scare you? Feeling like all of
Yeah.
a sudden you just have a new child?
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, now your husband has to take care of even the big child.
And whether my child got any of it too while nursing. Yeah.
Same. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. And when we got together, I was like, I'm going to be independent. I'm not going to live off of you. I'm not going to depend on you. And now I'm on bed rest. Being have to hand-fed pills in my mouth because I would paralyze. I would start trembling. I would paralyze and I couldn't move my hands, and touching me was incredibly painful. And
I remember, how old are you again?
this was last year. I'm 35 right now, so I was
I remember that
33,
guy. She's not
34.
80 years old here, complaining about old age. And you've been having a lot of these symptoms for what, since
I
you
was
were
13.
13?
Yeah. So the whole time I thought it was heavy metals. They had to cancel my surgery because of it, because I just couldn't hold down any food and I was chronically ill, and they thought I was going to die. For 3 months I could not hold down food. I was on miso soup and bone broth, which I hated because I was already a vegetarian by then.
Yeah, it just made your head weird, sucking on
hated it.
bone juice.
Yeah, I hated it. It made me gag. And
Yeah, when I smell it, it makes me gag.
then I started finally going to fluids like juices and smoothies, and finally eating 1 meal a day.
Mm-hmm.
So during this time, the parasites got worse. I felt like I had a snake inside of me, and I could feel it digging around. And my doctor...
You're bugging it because you're not feeding it as good as it wants.
Yeah.
You're not following its
No more
orders.
needs, no more
She's
food.
remember, everybody's a follower in many ways, but parasites make you follow them in ways that you couldn't even imagine. And when you
Yeah.
drag them down to where the level she's at, you feel them complaining. You feel them
yeah.
moving in your stomach.
Oh, and it got
Okay.
really bad. It's still really hard for me to talk about. It was last year, and it's still hard. So this was April. I finally had the fillings taken out. Of course, everything's cosmetic. My stomach surgery is cosmetic. Not the hernia, but everything else was cosmetic. Because who cares if you've prolapsed as a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was a male, right, it would be mandatory surgery.
Yep.
The surgery for the fillings, the dental work was cosmetic.
And you had to pay for
So-
it all yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it-
insurance doesn't cover any of that stuff
Yeah.
unless the filling is in danger of such and such. And even if that will replace it with the same mercury filling, if you want anything different, you gotta pay for it.
And I was spending about $1,500 a month on supplements just to keep me going. Because we didn't know I had the Lymes and all the other stuff. So
So you're basically grasping for straws, trying anything,
Yeah.
researching constantly, I'm sure, right? But then again, you couldn't read, didn't feel like
all
doing
the
much.
time, all the time. If I was nursing, I was on my phone researching stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm a researcher. That's what I do for work. So it wasn't hard for me, but I have to really work at it.
Especially when you know in your business that most of the information that you first find is not the right information. It's disinformation to stop you from looking further. You have to dig deep and go through the layers, because there's a lot of good things that you can do for yourself, guys. But in the beginning, when you start researching on these things on the internet, you find out that there's a lot of opposition just to stop you from going this way, because it does give you back your power to experiment with yourself, okay? Because the doctor's experimenting with you, and let me tell you, he's like sort of like and not all are like this, but most doctors are like a mechanic that really doesn't have a computer, let's say, to hook up to the engine to find out what's wrong. So what do? They start just changing parts, okay? And this is not smart, okay? Taking medications and taking things that basically are synthetic chemicals, because once you get on this hamster wheel, remember, they're not medicine. They're synthetic chemicals, and it makes you think different. Okay, so anyways, I want you to really learn from people like this, okay? Because guys, everyone has to navigate. I don't care if you're sick or not. You will be, just like you said before here.
Yeah.
You will be in time. Okay, and we're talking sickness where you know that something's wrong and you go to the doctor, the white jacket person. Okay.
I must have seen about 15 practitioners in that 1 year, and I was getting so desperate. And I went to the ER one time, telling her that the doctor, that I was feeling like a snake inside of me and biting, and I could feel this thing come out and bite into my ovary when I wouldn't eat meat. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible. And I mean, psychologically, that just really screws with you. And I had a prescription from my regular doctor. It was on a Friday, and they sent me to the ER because they didn't have all the technology. It's a small clinic. And I had a list of all the treatments I needed to get. They only did the first 2. They showed up negative, and the doctor at the ER refused to do anything else. And she basically said, you may just have to come to the conclusion that you have gas. And I was pissed. I was furious. And I was like, gas doesn't bite. And gas doesn't travel around my back and bite around my
Sounds
liver.
like the rope parasite to me. Moves by suction and propulsion like a squid. Wow.
So muscle tested, that thing was 6 foot.
Yeah.
A 6-footer, and
an
I
adult.
had a giant morphed roundworm that was 8 feet. It was crazy.
And it sounds crazy, guys, but guys, you're just being ignorant is because of most of these parasites, especially the blood-sucking models, they grow a foot a year, okay?
Yeah.
And so let's say you're 30 years old and you had your first piece of flesh or whatever it is, whenever, that's usually how you get them, but you don't have to necessarily only get them from flesh. But if you were 5 years old, let's say, when you got your pig tapeworm, fish tapeworm, or beef tapeworm, or all 3.
Sushi, super popular.
They grow a foot a year. So 20 years of having that, 20 foot, whoa, that's not a snake, that's a serpent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it hurt, and it was vicious. And I talk about leaky gut. One day I ate chili, and all my face started burning because it went straight into the bloodstream.
It burns them.
Yeah, it went into my blood everywhere. But
Did you ever see any physical parasites come out?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
And you've seen all the people that are here, you thought, but
and
a
I
lot
seen
of
the pictures.
champion
And the
parasites.
support group I've been, they would get them a meter long, intact. And
That's
I was,
a piece of the serpent.
yeah, I was
Just a
taking
piece.
all kinds of stuff. I start looking after a while, but I can identify a lot that I had inside of me.
And forget the identification or not, if it comes out bigger than a grain of sand, especially, how many days
Yeah.
did you do your dry water fast?
Here, 7 days, and before that, I was liquid fasting for 2.5 weeks on just clays.
Okay. And then you got back more, and this is,
Yeah.
this is where, when your intestinal tract is clean, forget about the ketosis you get in 3 days, forget about a lot of different heavy metals and things you lose, but when the material in your intestinal tract starts to go ahead or material, I call it debris, toxic debris, starts to go ahead and actually leave, and that's just the food. Remember, 2-3 days of constipation, whatever it is, stop eating. Okay, well, in that pile, okay, are a myriad of different types of parasites that really, right now, no one's getting any food except for the ones that suck your blood. And they do still suck the blood. Is why? Because they're hooked onto the intestinal tract. And they do poop in the body. And this is one of the biggest things that people find out. Her decisions that she's going to make in the near future here are going to be way different only because she has more clarity in her head because she has less parasites pooping in her body. Okay? So, you got to really, go at this with fasting too. You have to not just change your diet. You have to really get more what I call fasting, liquid fasting. It doesn't even have to be water at first. It's liquids. So you did 7 days of what kind of liquids?
No, just the eye water and mineral water, because I started detoxing so fast and it was crashing me. So I was doing mineral water during the time. But
Okay.
to back up a little bit, I had my surgery in August, swelled up for 5 months, and had my neck surgery in December. And during that time, I was already desperate. So I started researching, and it came up. Your name came up. And
Just on the side of the YouTube video? Or?
on a comment, it was an article that was useless, like you said, useless information, and it popped out, and somebody said in the comments, you need to look up Dr. Robert Cassar. And in another comment, it said you need to look up lymphatic protocols to clean out your lymph. So I started doing that, and I started oozing black stuff.
And how
out of
long
my
ago was
skin.
that?
That was December last year.
Okay.
So I went up from a size 7 to bigger than a size 12 in the time that I swelled up before I started doing your protocols. So
how many pounds was that as far as, I know size difference, I'm not a girl, I'm not sure what the size is. Size 7, size 5. To size 12 sounds like double the size.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It was about 30 pounds that I lost of fluid before I came here, and another 15 pounds here on the first 7 days. So
Excellent.
45 pounds. And I didn't look fat. You looked at me and I just looked curvy, you know, like a typical Latina.
Swollen.
Yeah. And
And toxicity, as you notice, goes in the areas where you swell. That's sort of the
hips,
weird
all
thing.
that.
Hips,
Legs,
stomach,
yeah.
and face first
Yeah.
came.
So got myself out of bed rest by May using all those protocols, and every weekend I would liquid fast because then I had someone to help me with it. And it's just hard when you're feeding your child and you want to eat the same food and she's trying to share with you. So yeah, so
And smelling everything
Yeah.
that everybody else is cooking. That your parasites inside your body go, Mom, why aren't you feeding me? And you're salivating like crazy, but your mind's very strong, and you know
Yeah.
that you're not supposed to go back. Look, this is the journey. You want to go back to from which you came?
yeah, no way. Keep moving forward. So July of this year, my body was ready to start doing a liver flush, and I did one, and it was fantastic, and I got so many stones out. And after the surgery, my ribs had gotten lopsided because when they pulled the muscles in, it just kind of unevened everything in a year and a half of bed rest, you know.
Not laying on your back.
And
yeah.
my liver was really swollen and toxic, so after I did the liver flush, I was able to sleep on my right side for the first time. But I had heard that you could get a lot of flukes out, which are parasites in the liver and intestine.
Look like little snakes.
They look like
Phaseolopsis
slugs,
buski
like
is what they're
slugs,
called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they become male and female, so yeah. Sometimes they're searching for a mate, and that's why sometimes that the pheromone in this parasite will attract you to a person that you're not even really liking, but the parasite controls many things. Remember, mind-controlling parasites are strong. And once you disconnect a lot of these guys, you find out almost like you can get some of your life back, because now you can do some other things that they're not telling you what to do. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't get any out. They released everywhere, all over my body. I could feel them digging around my ribs, up my back, up my spine, up all the way to the back of my head, and I started getting little tiny parasites coming out of my sinuses when I would shower and use peppermint, and I could feel them digging away, and all this started swelling up.
Seen that hundreds of times in people.
And I started losing cognition, and we were to the point where I was doing power of attorney and medical directives because I was
scared.
not functioning. I was dying.
Yeah, scared.
And
Line up your stuff, especially the doctors probably said, well, honey.
oh, and that's when my doctor said, I think we should stop. We've been going at it for a year and a half. Let's do the heavy metals. Let's attack the heavy metals. Which she's right in a way that the parasites won't leave unless all the toxicity leaves.
That's right.
But they were in my brain. And I was like, that's not going to work for me. So I had been doing your protocols, and I decided we need to come over here.
I mean, what made you, come up here? I mean,
I was dying. I was like, this is
but that's
my
a big
last
jump. You came, you
chance.
fly on the plane, you
Yeah.
brought your husband and daughter, which they have their own little place, come over every day. And, I mean, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
You had to have
to
something
take-
strong inside you to be able to say, you know what, I really need this. I need to be in another atmosphere. I need to be getting
Well,
to the next
This
level.
This is stuff people usually don't talk about, but I was up in the middle of the night. No, I'm sorry. I was sleeping one night, and I had already been doing the water fasting for I think a week or something, and just doing clays. And I read the Essene Gospel of Peace, which I recommend to anyone, whether you're
also.
religious or not. And
Just as good stories, guys.
it's amazing.
Smart.
But it just resonated so strongly with me that that's what I needed to do. And basically it talks about detoxing by just doing water and liquid fasting and eating off the clay and being in the sunshine. So I would joke around with my partner. I was like, I'm gonna turn into a plant. I'm gonna feed off of the dirt and drink water and be out in the sun. And he's like, you do whatever you need to do.
Give it a try.
One day I was just fed up with it and I needed a rest, and I went to sleep and I didn't do anything that day. And Spirit woke me up and was like, get up, you're not done. You need to go and keep going, otherwise you're gonna die. And that I didn't tell anyone. My partner didn't want to see it at the time, but that was, facing your death alone is incredibly hard.
And not only that, you're leaving your daughter, which,
Yeah.
of course, the mother figure is not important, it's essential.
Yeah.
and the people that would actually, even if you didn't care about yourself, everybody else cares about you.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes that helps people pull through, because there are people in your position right now that are sick and tired. They've tried a lot of stuff, and they don't have any connection to family at all. They don't care, and they don't want to stay here. So it's like a death warrant in their own mind. They just don't want to be in misery and suffering anymore. They just don't.
My parents didn't really capture what was going on until my dad saw me tremoring on the last 3 weeks before coming here. And because I looked fine. I looked perfectly fine. I probably look more sick now because my head is shaved off, but I had bald spots up to here because my hair was falling in chunks, and I had pus coming out everywhere and detoxing black stuff, and no one would believe me because it's easy to hide with pants. And if I was doing well, then people would see me, but people wouldn't really come and help out. You
didn't want to catch anything. You didn't want to catch anything you got.
Well, they didn't know. They didn't know. I didn't tell people. I started finding out the last 3 weeks, and just muscle testing like crazy. So that's when it turned out I had Lyme's for like 22 years. I had black mold. I had all this kind of stuff, and the Morgellons.
Mercury fillings. Okay, all the things you've got in environmental at work, and forget about the chloramines in your shower and all the other pieces that are basically GMO foods. And even if you eat as clean as you can,
and the water's so toxic.
Water's chemtrails, whatever's in that, guys. Synthetic biology, and if you don't know about that, you should look it up, because there's lots of, not buzz, there's lots of talk about synthetic biology, and I see it in everybody.
The last week before coming, when I had my interview, the day before, that's when I realized that the electronics were making me tremor, and we have to be on candlelight at night. Completely unplug everything, the Wi-Fi, any electronics. It was just making me tremor and
But why?
spasm.
Because you were a good antenna.
Yeah, I had a lot of. One night I had a bowel movement with a handful of what looked like fish hooks, this big, and for weeks I would have like what looked like sand and little tiny microfibers that was just coming out of my pores, and it looked like a plastic beard.
Yep.
It was
Mucus,
terrible.
or sometimes pus comes out of the pores.
And these were fibers, and they were sharp, and they were like crystalline.
Yep.
And my daughter was like, "Why are you so spiky?" And so I wouldn't let her touch me. I was sleeping on the couch, and I would wake up and crap all over the couch. So yeah, I had to find something, because nothing else was working anymore. Not the herbs, not the detoxing on so much antibiotics, and the parasites. It was either I was going to have a heart attack, or the parasites were going to eat at my brain, and I was going to be comatose for the rest of my life.
Okay. So
I didn't want that.
2 seconds real quick here. Guys, what did she just do? She went through an experience that she really didn't want to, but what a Stanford University class to be able to go ahead and, because if not, she wouldn't have been able to have this experience. And the best part is if you can have an experience and get out of it, okay?
Yeah.
Better than you were before. So, you learn from the experience, but this is what it is. You have to become your own doctor. It is a big thing here, okay?
That was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Years ago, when I first started learning that it's a conscious decision, you go into victim mode about, what do you mean it's conscious? I don't want this. I don't want this for myself. I can change it if I want to. I would change it. I would do anything for it. But it really is a conscious decision, and you can choose where it is that you want your life to go. And I didn't want that anymore.
And what you've done is not easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of courage to go ahead and look outside the box, okay? And once you start looking outside the box, there's a lot of information. And it doesn't mean it's all good, guys, okay? But I can tell you this. The information that I'm sharing with you is a work in progress. I know it really works on almost just about anything and anything that has to do with the human physiology. Why? Because you're upgrading, enhancing, and optimizing 50 departments a little at a time, and you're unique, she's unique, I'm unique, and everybody's got their own parasitic load, heavy metal load, body's demineralized, maybe it doesn't get any sunlight, maybe it's using certain types of chemicals in its normal business lifestyle, as you call it, like you did.
Yeah.
Cadmium,
Yeah.
okay, working in the electronics,
Radiation.
okay. So detoxification is essential. And it is a lifestyle, But then again, once you detox the body, then what happens is the parasites, they start to leave you without fighting them. And I just want to, at one point, you try to kill your parasites, guys, it's not too smart. I'm just telling you. Okay? Everything wants to live. Everything. And if you found something that doesn't want to live, you show it to me. Everything has a directive to live. And if you push it, okay, just like a dog, it'll run away. But against the wall, it will bite you. It'll bite you. Okay, these parasites are the same. Okay, and I, again, don't really want anybody, I'm just telling you, after 35 years of playing around with parasites, you don't try to kill them. And the only reason why you would is only because you have a layer of movement that you need to manage right now. Okay, it's not to kill them all. Remember, you're just taking off a layer just to get management. And if you don't do the fasting, if you don't remineralize the body, if you don't sit in the sauna like this, okay, and give your kidneys a break. This is what we're doing right now. We're peeing, urinating through our skin. And now that's our third kidney. This is important. Remember, your kidneys are overridden with, forget heavy metals only. Okay, what do you think calcium oxalates or kidney stones are? These are all parasitic. Okay, and it's because of your diet, and it's because of a lot of things. And I had to relearn everything, just so you know. Okay, and I was sick myself, and I laugh at a lot of the symptoms she has is because I had them all too. Okay, and this is why I said, guys, everybody has their own unique, some people say you have this and that, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what disease someone says you have, or when you poop out a parasite, it doesn't matter what kind it is, it just is. Okay, so this is where you need to really get curious before you get sick. Okay, get curious about other people that are taking care of business right now. Okay, is because, not because maybe they want to, because they got to, have to. Okay, and if you believe, okay, in the medical system, and there's nothing wrong with that. They've saved my life many times in the emergency hospital, especially with my snake bite, then I had my viper bite, auto accidents. I mean, I've been saved several times. Okay, as far as curing, remember, that ain't gonna happen. Okay, it's not gonna happen. You need to cure yourself, as I did. Okay, and as Amy's doing herself. She's becoming her own doctor. Remember, and she's drinking liquids right now. Okay, you're trying to wash your body, and just because you drink a lot of liquids, unless your pores are open, this is what we're going to do in part 2. We're going to go ahead and open up her pores and squeeze the pores, and let's see what comes out of there. And I guarantee you, okay, because her pores are open, they're sweating, and a lot of people that we go into the sauna, remember, they don't sweat. It's because why? Because they're plugged. So you've been here how many weeks now?
This is my last week. I'm sad. It's 6 weeks. I extended my visit.
Okay.
Because I was getting so much stuff out.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And I always tell people, you know, people say, hey, can I come up for a week or 2 weeks? Not really, because I need to really understand, make you understand that anything less than 21 days is not really, you can do a lot of those things on your own, okay? You should have the time to be able to do 21 days minimum, so you can at least do a 7-day water fast, dry water fast. And then you can go through a lot of the protocols from colon hydrotherapy and using different types. Remember, it's all an experiment. From sauna, if you can do it, if you feel, twice a day. Go to the waterfall. Remember, get out in the sun, okay? Get all different types of what I call therapies that soften the tissue. It's because right now you're drinking liquids, okay? And you're not killing anything, like I said. If you kill things in your body, okay, it's only because of direct necessity, but that's not what you start out with at all. If you do, then all, like I said, all you're doing is fighting with the dark, because you don't know what you're doing. And if you do kill a lot at one time, because I can show you how to kill a lot of parasites. Remember, you probably have a handful of stuff in your intestinal tract this big. And if you don't think so, again, guys, again, you're just being ignorant, especially if your belly's sticking out. But then again, look at Katie.
Oh, Katie's...
She's thin.
Super
100
flat
pounds.
stomach. No, 80.
Hey, okay, and
80
look at the
pounds.
stuff that's
And
coming out of her.
gets-
Oh my gosh.
Last week, ropes every day. Every day. Whether she did colonics or not, she was getting
And she's so
ropes.
happy too, because she's letting them go. And she's not killing them. Remember,
Very similar stories where she was just bedridden and couldn't move, and people looked at her because she was skinny and they thought she was healthy, because being skinny is healthy.
especially when you're young.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah.
And she was supposed to be in here with us today because these people both have, they both have similar Lymes, all different synthetic, Morgellons, remember synthetic biology.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you have it, guys, everybody I've ever seen has not only skin fungus on their skin, everybody, until you get out in the sun, you can't see it. Tinea versicolor hides, okay? It hides until you get a suntan, okay? Everybody has synthetic biology, birds, bees, whales, snails, okay? And what is that? Again, doing your homework is just to show you that there is a lot of changes here happening, okay? And you need to change with the change. Some people will go ahead and actually get eruptions in their skin, okay? And red and blue and black fibers,
Right here.
yeah, come out of the legs, okay? And come out, okay,
Yeah.
of
That
the
was
tissue.
right now.
And there's lots of videos to go ahead and
There's
show you.
The black mold starting to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sent pictures too.
Now, she's got some great pictures, and if you, again, Google Morgellons disease, and I call it synthetic self-replicating biology. Okay, it's more scientific. And is it good for us? Is it bad for us? We'll see. Okay, all I can tell you is that AI, remember, is your best friend. It's your telephone. It's everything and everything that you're connected to. Whoops. So, is it your best friend is what I'm saying. Okay? It may not be, just like parasites.
Not for me. No.
Yep, they may be an elusive host that may not be the best for you unless you evolve with them in some way. Remember, in parasites, are no need to the host. So don't even think, well, we need parasites. No, you don't. Okay, they're only in you because they can live inside you. And remember, a weed wants to grow where it can, so change the terrain and modify it. And remember, experimentation is your power. And like I said, I've done hundreds of people with these protocols, okay? And they're doing it themselves. Remember, she's volunteering to not eat. Think about that. Let's put you in jail for 14 days. And you can't have anything but dry water, real water, not mountain spring water, no dry, just steam distilled, because it's the detox water. And we'll see what happens. Okay, I know what's going to happen. It's not going to kill you. You can do it for 30 days if you wanted to. You may have to go ahead and, revive you a few times. It's because you may go through throw-ups and colony collapses and everything else, depending on how sick you are. So when you do fasting, you just do what you can, okay? And try to go ahead and learn the intermittent fasting programs, okay? Which means, and we've been in here, because I can feel it right now too, I'm getting sort of dizzy. Okay, we've been...
Almost an hour.
Yeah, in here about 48, yeah. So
We were here before
my
that.
face
Yeah.
swells up in here. I mean, the heat for me, because my skin, remember, is very thin, okay? And so the far infrared waves go through me really a lot, and they make me river sweat. And if you stop sweating in the sauna, that's not good. You need to drink a lot of water, okay? And like I said, part 2, we're going to use a special blade that I created to be able to open up her pores. And I'll show you how to do this specifically. And I can only do this therapy is when she's done a lot of the homework. You got to be soft, okay, or at least softer. And I've seen her walking around. She's got good bruises. She's been working on herself. And that bruise, remember, is called ecchymosis. Okay, when you work on yourself and break the tissue. And that's called sick tissue. Okay, after 3, 4, 5 days, goes away. And some of the tissue that I push on actually worked on you. Make it sore just like Katie. Remember, she was supposed to be here, but I worked on her yesterday, and she says,
She's having a hard day.
I'm good today.
Yeah, I'll be sore for about 3 days, and then for about 2 days after that, I get a lot of gunk out, a lot of toxic stuff out. Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
Okay, so before we go into part 2, because again, part 2 is all just protocols. We're going to go through as much as she'll let me on her, okay? And I'm not going to do it hard. I'm going to do it soft. Remember, the practitioner, that's why she needs to learn this. The practitioner needs experience, and you need to go ahead and try this not only on yourself, try it on your mate. Remember, it's like 2 monkeys picking fleas out of their body. You can't get the ones on the back. I can't do my back, okay? So maybe I'll let you do my back so you can see and feel how sick tissue versus healthy tissue is. Healthy tissue you can push really hard and it feels good and itches. Sick tissue, it gets black and blue and it hurts like someone cutting your skin. So once you go through that a few times though, it doesn't do that anymore. So last words before we... Remember, inspiration. people take care of yourselves, guys. Step it up.
I would say that the thing I really regretted before this, I would say is I would keep saying I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to take out the fillings. I didn't have the money to go see a naturopath. I didn't have the money
Get
to
a steam distilled water maker.
Yeah, to go organic, to go all organic. And it wasn't until I got really sick and we were like, screw it. We have to figure out how to keep me alive. And, you know, we had to go through bankruptcy and we had to get a fundraiser to come over here because I depleted all of my savings to buy a house. I depleted all of my Roth IRAs. I'm already tapping into my my work IRA, you know, my 401k. And thank God that I have that money and I'm very blessed that I do, but I thought I'd be doing that when I was, you know, 80. Right now in my 30s. So that's the thing that I would regret the most, and I would say, screw the money. The money comes anyways. Your health comes first. Always, always.
And the sicker you become, and let me tell you guys, look, money's real simple. It's energy. There's a bunch of stuff at your house you don't need. You do need a steam distiller. You do need a variety of minerals. Just like she took magnesium, you need to rub magnesium on your skin. You need to go ahead and learn these protocols. Remember, a lot of the protocols we share with you, you don't have to change your diet. Okay, so there's no excuse. Okay, there's really not. And unless you really become your own doctor, I'm just telling you, once you get sick, you're going to go to the physicians. Most of them, again, remember, they're sick just like you.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not going to be able to help you. Yeah, in the way you think.
And fat, and yeah, they're probably worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't see that truth, okay, that the Wizard of Oz is hiding behind the white jacket, remember, it's not curing, and I'm not bagging on the medical system. They've saved my life. But they also, I won't say murdered my mother, okay, but they did not the right treatments. And she got not the right medications. And all of a sudden, that's happened not only to my mom dying of an iatrogenic disease, going for one thing and you don't leave, okay, the place. Why? It's because you caught something in there, iatrogenic, hospital caused, okay? And this happens. So don't get in the hospital, guys, all I can tell you. Okay, and once you do get in the hospital, you should be woken up immensely to when you get out of jail, because that's what that place is, and you're under the supreme commander that runs the hospital, remember, and all they're going to do is give you pharmaceuticals. No. Okay, they're going to give you, remember, chemicals, synthetic chemicals, to not cure you, to manage your symptoms. And of course, a lot of them are valid. Okay, but then again, most of them don't need to be used, especially because people haven't even tried anything on their own yet. So before you get sick, guys, okay, learn from those that have. It's because, listen to her, she's laying in bed for a year and a half. Come on, it doesn't even register to you guys. Okay? You know, in
a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair.
In a walker.
Oh my gosh.
When I came here, in a walker. Yeah. It's incredibly... you really have to push a lot mentally when you hit those stages.
And I bet you that your child helped you push a lot is because, you know what, you're a mother.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than not being able, can't even care for yourself. Forget about even sharing the love for your child that you've been carrying in your womb. And all of a sudden now you can't even...
The day I picked her up for the first time, 3 months after my surgery, she was crying and fell, and I just picked her up instantly. And she stopped crying, and she stared at me, and she said, "Mommy picked me up." I said, "Yeah, baby, I picked you up." Do you like that? "Mommy picked me up. I'm so happy. I missed you, Mommy. I missed you." And that just made me break down like...
Your daughter's what, 2 now?
She's almost 3. She's
almost 3, oh wow.
She was 2 when that happened.
Okay, look what she's been going through, guys, okay? Remember, you'd be surprised how many people have blood-borne sicknesses in your system, and they feed off of sugar, most of them. They feed off of your corruption that you have. Mercury fillings, heavy metals in your body's plugged with plastic, kidneys plugged full of lead. Okay, taking pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, again, takes knowledge. And knowledge is not just learning things, it's practicing them. Okay, so learn from those people. There's a lot of smart people here, but for some reason, I don't see them really engaging until they get sick. And I think that's not smart, guys. If you're reasonable and logical, learn from others and change it up. At least for 6 months is what we call the 180-day reset. change it up. And if you want to go back to from which you came, then go ahead. Okay, but you'll find out you never felt better than you ever have in your life. Skin, everything that used to be now is a youth model compared to the elder model. Okay, so, and everybody here, once they get over the 7 to 10 day mark of water fasting, magically all of a sudden people lose 10 years of face emotions and forget the body fat. I mean,
Nicholas, on the first
Remember
day,
him?
he looked so different.
Oh yeah.
Nicholas looked, amazing. He just looked so different.
Okay, here we go. I'm getting dizzy now. And this is perfect in here, guys. Okay, in order to do this therapy, like I said, you have to have this type of a heater. And if not, you get yourself a big fire and slow roast in front of the fire. Take your clothes off. It's far infrared. It softens the tissues. So
you work on it little by little.
And a little bit at a time. And it's not how much you do, it's consistency from what you do. Okay, so there we go. Let's give them chakas. There we go. Aloha.